Can we start recording?
President Gadiana and board members, can we take a look at the norms before we start the meeting? Can everybody read one of the norms, please?
Actively listen to all perspectives.
Close the loop, responding to concerns and questions as a unified board.
Model the professionalism we expect from all members of the district and community. Customer service orientation.
And number 4, assume positive intent.
Right, be positive and responsive.
Thank you.
Now 502, and I'll open the meeting. It's called to order. Do a roll call. Serena Murillo.
Here, present.
David Terrazas.
Here, President.
Myself, Gilbert Guadiana here. With, all members in attendance. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Dia symbol of perfect friendship among the united cultures.
Item number 2 precedes the approval agenda items, and we're going to go into that session, that part now. It is a work session for board members to review the board candidates applicants individually. So we will go into this session for approximately 15 minutes, and then we'll be moving forward with the interviews.
Is there a agenda? I can get you one of the main office. Okay. That's a unique president, Aaron Lewis. This is first year as a unique president.
What's their bad?
Mr. Lewis, sorry about that. It was supposed to be sent out earlier today, the agenda, but there's a problem with the all staff email.
Yeah, I've been having, I think I finally figured it out. It's just the Zoom.
domain.
the new domain.
Yes, sorry about that.
It held my password, which was good. So that part was easy. It was just figuring out the domain. So I got in, and there's a list of things that I have not attended to.
Have you met Mr. Terrazas, our new board member?
I have not.
This is Aaron Lewis. He's our union president.
That's you live here, Bay?
And hurry.
In her. Happy to have you.
Thank you.
Did Irma call the Grant County Clerk's office to verify that all these applicants are eligible?
No.
Okay, that was part of the process last time, I just remembered. Because if they're not eligible, they can't be on the board. They have to be a registered voter within the district.
And that's really the criteria they just look at to see if they're registered and within the district.
Yeah, I just remembered right now. So we're probably going to.
Yeah, I guess we could ask them that question if they're registered and they're if they're registered within the district. I don't know if we could ask them their address specifically.
The judge won't be here until the next meeting to make it official anyways, or until we ask him to know.
Well, one of the
Okay, so we could check.
one of the options that we had last time too, but we never used it, was select in sequence. And so that way, if one of them does not meet the, doesn't fit the criteria, either background or location, then we would move down to the next one. Yes. Yes, we could.
Okay. So,
Or we could say, you know, the
so they need to be registered.
appointment is pending
Mhm.
approval through the county clerk.
They won't
And
be-
we still have the background check as well, I believe. Did we put down that there was going to be a background check?
No.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
okay.
think there is a
I
background.
don't think it's necessary. We did last time though.
Did we?
Yeah, remember Canuto couldn't accept, they asked him to do the background check, but he was gonna be out of town that day, and so he asked to do the license check, yeah.
What I can do is I can have rank them 1 through 5, and I can have her, make sure the registered voter with the clerk's office. Anything else?
I just remembered right now, I'm sorry. No, that's an important part.
Well, and how would we do the ranking?
And I'll discuss and have it at the end and rank them 1 through 5.
Or we could make nominations and make appointments. We can table it and we can,
So you rank them 1 through 5, and then you can actually vote on 2 of them, but their vote is still pending on that 2 things. Their vote is the clerk's office and also the judge.
Okay.
Would you like to do it that way, or would you like to do it another way?
Well,
I'm kind of opposed to ranking because I think they're all great candidates. And like, I know if it was me and I was ranked number 5, I'd be, I'd kind of get my feelings hurt. So I personally am opposed to ranking.
So you're gonna have to pick which ones are your 1 and 2
Right.
anyways.
Mhm.
Probably your 3rd one, right?
Right.
third one is not possible.
Or we could like keep it in mind in case.
Because if your top two don't even, they're not registered voters and in the district, then you go to 3 and 4.
Well, the other part of that too is that if our top 2, say we do choose 2, the top 2 don't make it, we come back, we notify everybody that there hasn't been made, we'll continue with the selection. The next meeting with the remaining applicants. Does that work?
So say that one more time.
That we select 2 now, and they go through the process of getting cleared to the clerk's office, county clerk's office. If both of them fail, or one or both, then the one that failed will be not included, and we could meet the next meeting and consider the remaining applicants in lieu of the person that had been was not eligible.
When they start interviewing, do you want me, or would you like to explain that to them also? Okay, okay. And tell them that we have 6 questions for them today, and we're gonna pick 2 people.
And that they'll still be under consideration until it is formalized that they are eligible, and we swear them in. I would leave it even to the point where if they may decide not to, we'll leave it to the point that we swear it in, that swear them in, that it becomes.
So do you want to swear them in sooner than the next board meeting? Do you want to have a special meeting, or do you want to wait 2 weeks?
I prefer to wait.
I don't see what the benefit of doing it earlier would be, that they wouldn't be able to do much before then. Unless we're gonna put them on committees and put them on policies right away, but no, we could spare them.
That's
2
on my
weeks.
list tonight, but
No, we actually can meet with, we can actually continue with the policies without a full complement of members.
well, you 2 have been doing it anyways.
Yeah, yeah, we could 2 people that,
Okay.
And me being new to it, I mean,
yeah.
it's like, I was on Friday, and then I'm trying to open meetings act, and what's my responsibilities as a secretary, and we just a lot of information in a short period of time, right? So,
Right now, we're going through what's called the 100 series in our old policies, and it's really what the board does. And so we'll talk about when do we want public input in the agenda, those kind of things that you could have. When do we want, who's going to be able to ask for attorney a set of reviews or guidance, number of different things that you would be probably much more comfortable in. The next ones get into the school operations, and that's a whole different story. Okay.
Take your time on these. We've got plenty of time for you guys to review them. If you get a chance to review them.
Can I pose a question, Mr. President?
Sure.
So is it necessary to assign the 2 members right now because of the emergency nature of the board shortage and the whole election? When it comes time for these 2 seats to be
When they were supposed to be held on election.
It's not emergent, it's not needed per se as an immediate thing right now, because we do have 3 members and we can operate with 3 members. However, the policies and the laws are that if there is a resignation, then we must make an appointment within 45 days of that resignation to fill those positions. Otherwise, the state will appoint. In the case of Mr. Terraza's appointment, it was necessary to have a quorum, yes. But the remaining 2, we can take up to 45 days from the date of resignation to make an appointment.
And then with those 2 seats, we normally call for election.
Yes, I believe it's actually in the case of these 2 seats that we're filling now, if they are to be looked at as Frank's and Mr. Sepulveda's, they're up for election in this next cycle. Not the 23 cycle, yes. The one that Mr. Terraza's in is the one of Mr. Molina, and that actually goes to the 25 section. But the requirement, I mean, the way it is written, it is that he would have to run for election at the next election. And it worked out well because it still continues with 3 on one cycle and then 2 on the other cycle. So we don't really have a mass exodus at one particular point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's been a question about if we can move something up in the agenda. Would you also like to move up the interviews higher in the agenda, or would you like to leave them in the same spot? I know we're still in the work session.
I'd like to move them up. Maybe to under minutes.
Yeah, let's finish the work session and then we'll start off right away with approval of agenda items. So another 2, 3, are you done with it?
Take your time.
Well, I got them in my email earlier.
You want to discuss the questions first, or can I read through the questions and make sure we're all on the same page?
Sure.
So we're interviewing several candidates. Why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board? That's question 1. Is everybody okay with that question? Second question, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Cobre School District? Everybody okay with that one? And then number 3, how would you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not? And number 4, there's a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation? Everybody okay with that? Number 5, how would you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment? Everybody okay with that? And the last one, do you feel comfortable with raising a question against the status quo? Are we okay with those?
Yes.
So President Gaudiano, will you ask the questions to that, or will you guys rotate through asking the questions?
We'll rotate.
And so everyone will complete the questionnaire. Okay.
Okay. We'll move on to action items, and item A is the approval of agenda items. And there's a recommendation to remove, well, there's a recommendation to move the item G to be the next item of order.
So 3G, the board member interviews, if we could move that up, but also if we could move, we have somebody online that's, or on this waiting for us from Palms and Associates to discuss the reunification plan. That's Grant Banish. Could we also move him up either before the interviews or after the interviews?
Does anybody have a preference?
Could we move him up first and then do the interviews after that?
So that's your recommendation.
So that would be 7C to go after 3A and then 3G to go after that.
So let's end the motion to amend the agenda items to move item 7C to follow after the approval of the agenda, and after that to come the item 3G as for the board member interviews and possible appointment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Palms and Associates.
Jeez. Okay.
Hey Grant, are you there? Hello.
Hey, I'm
Hey, how are you?
doing well, on yourself?
I think they're ready for you.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you guys putting me up a little bit higher on the agenda. It sounds like you have a busy night, so I appreciate it. Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Spalletta, just want to introduce myself. My name is Grant Banish. I am from Palms and Associates. I'm going to share with you some information regarding a family reunification process that we've been working on with Cobre schools for the past going on 7 months now. It's a long process, but I believe with the great work that Ms. Barella has done with her leadership, we're going to have a well-functioning and solid process if we ever need to deploy it within Cobre schools or within Silver City schools. It turns out to be more of a countywide initiative. Reason being, you know, reunification happens not only from like an active shooter event, which we all don't want to see, but if it does, it affects the entire community. So it turns out to be a community effort, and we've been working together with a lot of Grant County community stakeholders in developing this process, from law enforcement, fire departments, Grant County personnel, as long as with the schools. So I'm going to share with you a presentation. I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but I will also be available to answer any questions that you may have. I'm not sure what you can see on your screen right now. Do you see Grant County Family Reunification?
No, sir. Victor, is he allowed to share his screen?
He's allowed.
Okay. No, Grant, we don't see it yet.
Okay. Bear with me. All right, how about now?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. So we'll walk through this presentation. Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to stop me. Hopefully you know what Palms and Associates do for New Mexico schools. We are the insurance risk management department for Palms. We work with all schools in New Mexico, and we cover training in a variety of topics. And also we do annual audits within the school districts across our state as well. Again, all our training is provided at absolutely no cost to the districts. I've been out to Cobre schools probably 7 times in the last 7 months, working on this process. So when will a reunification take place, or what is a family reunification if you're not familiar with it? Family reunification is a means of a safe and orderly with documented reunion of students and families in the event of an emergency or school closing. When we talk about an active shooter event, I retired from Aztec Schools. I spent 25 years within Aztec Schools district. And at that time, I was actively involved with the active shooter event that we had there on December 7th of 2017, where we had to deploy a reunification, and we did not have all the parts and pieces in place. However, through a 2-year process, we were able to develop that for San Juan County. But I want to make mention, a family reunification may not just be needed for a violent event. We've had to, when we lost utilities at an elementary school, we had to, return students back to their parents during the day, which can be a difficult process, especially when people are working, hazmat issues, gas leaks, and so forth. But really, anytime a regular school day is interrupted to the point that you have to reunite students with their parents. Again, it's all about that controlled manner and be able to make sure you get the right child to the right parent, because we all know of guardian issues that we have within our communities. So I'm going to go over the reunification flow. We developed with the help of the I Love You Guys Foundation. They've done a tremendous amount of work. Unfortunately, the I Love You Guys Foundation was created because of another tragedy that happened in Colorado at Fort Canyon High School, where John Michael Keyes and his wife did lose their daughter in that incident. And out of that, they they saw the need of a reunification process, which they created the I Love You Guys, and they have a tremendous amount of resources available for schools, again, at no cost. At the start of our process, we looked at creating an organization chart that really outlines the roles and responsibilities of everybody involved in a reunification process. I'm not going to go over great detail of this organization chart. This is specific for Grant County with input from both Cobre and Silver City schools. And because of the size difference between the two districts, this chart is flexible to accommodate both school districts. Every bubble on this chart is representing a job that needs to take place. And with that, again, in this presentation, I do not have that information. With that, there is task sheets that go with every single job that really explains what their role is and what they need to accomplish. So when we talk about reunification flow, I'll show a little bit later in this presentation the the Silver City Conference Center that we're using as a primary location for reunification. It serves many purposes for the size of it, the location, the ability to use indoor space, just in case the weather is not cooperating with us. But it uses a two-gate process. One gate where the parents will arrive, another gate where students arrive, and then when they reunify the students with the parents, they'll in the family reunification area in the bottom of this slide, that's where they'll leave the reunification area. But before students arrive, there's a series of people that need to be already set up. So it's going to be important if you have to do a reunification that you notify the right individuals within the county to assist with this process. We have greeters and checkers and reunifiers. Again, I'm not going to go into detail of what each individual does, but we have them in place, and there'll be a training completed on August 8th within Grant County for both Cobre and Silver City schools, as well as Grant County employees. You can see how many people are needed. Different positions that are needed to be established prior to students arriving. After the students arrive, generally by bus, they'll arrive into the student assembly area. There they'll be greeted by student hosts. They'll be given wristbands. They'll be offered mental health and medical health available to them in this area. So we really want to take care of the students and also staff from the impacted site. So after an active shooter event, you're going to have everybody at that school site being a victim of that incident. And really paying attention to the mental health, as that's a critical area. Parents will arrive to the reunification site. Communication will be sent out to the parents. Prior to this, training of parents and notification of parents of the reunification process will be also needed so that parents are understanding what their role is to be able to retrieve their child in this type of circumstance. They arrive, they enter through the parent check-in area. There'll be greeters there telling them the process. They'll be also handing them a reunification card, which we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. They enter the area. They will go through lines to get to the checkers. At the checkers, they're verifying IDs. They're verifying to ensure that that parent is supposed to be picking up that child, so that we know at the end of this process, everybody went home with the right guardians. Once they fill out the forms, they're checked in. Reunifiers, they're represented in red here, will escort them to the family reunification area. Then the reunifiers gathers that child from the student assembly area, brings them, reunites the families back together, and the families leave out of another exit. and out through this process. Trying to streamline this as best as possible, because this process does take time, but at the end of it, it'll be well documented on, ensuring that custody is maintained. One of the things that we did not do in Aztec at our reunification was that documentation part, which was absolutely critical. Fortunately, we did not have any issues, but issues could have arrived very quickly. Last time I was in Grant County, we worked there for 2 days to create a reunification kit, all the parts and pieces, including the task cards that go with it. So Grant County now has a reunification kit that will be stored in a location still to be announced or to be determined. But that will be used for both Cobre schools and Silver schools when needed. And hopefully we never need this except annually when we do a training or drill. Any questions so far?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
So do we have enough buses to be able to bus our students over there?
So
Also,
we did meet with your transportation department and discussed how many buses we do need and being able to do that possibly in shifts. But the transportation department is also involved in this planning process. Okay, and what about families that don't have vehicles to get to the conference center? That's a great question. Not thought of by my end at all. Generally, because we do provide bus transportation in Aztec, and we had some family member attend the reunification. It could have been an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. We had actually probably 4 to 6 people per student arrive at the reunification site. Okay, because I know we do have families that don't have vehicles, so that might be something to think of. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to follow up also with a question. Are there going to be, you mentioned documentation, and is there going to be a center that would have a collection of the photo IDs, not only of the students, but of the parents and the people likely to pick them up?
So when the students do, or when the parents do arrive, they'll be required to have photo ID with them. If they forget it, or they do not have that ID with them, we have an area set up for law enforcement to be able to check to ensure that that right person is picking up the correct child. And that information is going to be based off of your student information system, PowerSchool, so that they can search those children. And that's another reason, the importance of parents updating their contact information within the systems.
And photo IDs for the students?
Generally, we do not have photo IDs for elementary school students in Aztec. That you're going to have teachers at the student assembly area to verify that that is the right student for that parent.
And we are in the process, Mr. Valderna, of updating. We're going to make sure that this year when students take their pictures, because some of the pictures in PowerSchool have not been updated, so we're going to make sure that those are updated this year, so all students will have current photos within the PowerSchool system.
And the logistics of getting that to that
we have
reunification center?
Computers ready to go at a moment's notice, and so we would have, Victor has 6 computers ready to go. 7. So we would take computers with us, and so we would have access to that information based on the computer.
That's stored on like a cloud or PowerSchool?
It's web-based.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's part of the testing of when we do drills is to ensure that that communication networking is established. And I know Ms. Barella has brought out the IT people to the conference center, and we've had communications and dialogue about the connectivity over there, and also working with the IT folks for Grant County to ensure that we have connectivity when needed.
I think you have another question here, Grant.
So in Grant County, there was no other area in the mining district that could be identified to make it closer for us?
No, actually, Grant visited several locations. We met with the, I always forget the name of that team, but we met with the local emergency manager at the time. And we identified several different places as a team with some of the local law enforcement. We considered the, oh my goodness, the National Guard. We considered that as a location, but Grant went out and visited all the locations and took his drone and took maps. And so the convention center was the easiest place for access for the buses in one way, parents in another way. We just had a lot more rooms available for the different things that we would be needing access.
Along that question, was that based on the scale of having to evacuate both districts?
No, that was just having to evacuate one. But, in the event of evacuation, both districts would help support, the IT and, the setup and all of that, but it was just looking at the evacuation.
That's a long haul from San Lorenzo to Silver City, or even where I live in Hurley. It's a
The Armory sounds like a much better location.
That be reviewed in terms of the distance for the Cobre district to have that, to have a second look at the Armory?
Absolutely. One of the reasons, or one of the things that you have to look at when you're talking about a reunification site is that you want to get your population away from that crime scene and away from that area, because it's going to clog up the entire community. And by moving them to and I try to make a 20-mile limit, because you're going to have, if they're on buses, to be able to transport them. I know when we did ours in Aztec, it was a 18-mile haul to move the children to a location that could accommodate the large amount of parents that will show up to an event, and also to accommodate the building space inside so that you can house everybody indoors. And out of those sites that we initially looked at, the conference center was our best bet to check all the boxes that we needed. But we definitely look at the Armory again.
Thank you.
Just to tag on to that, the Armory in Santa Clara doesn't have the infrastructure to support this.
Does it have what?
The infrastructure to support this.
As far as computer network?
Connectivity, yeah.
And that can't be done with remote access, the Wi-Fi.
Not if we're wanting to get into emergency setup, the conference center has all that stuff set up.
Okay. And in that sense, maybe we can take a look at what does it take to put it there? Because I agree that, especially in San Lorenzo, to move all the way up there, it is something that's attainable that we can do within the Armory. I think people would be much more comfortable having the proximity to the site of that may be there, if their kids are still there and there's still movement going back and forth. But to make the distance where it's more nervous, causes more anxiety. I think the closer option, we should pursue it. And if it comes to a point of saying it doesn't work, we can tell the parents these are reasons why. And we did look at the initial barriers, and then we looked at trying to overcome them, and then proceeded.
Are there any more questions?
No.
Okay, here's a quick look at our reunification cards. Again, gives some directions on what they need, what parents will need to do. Both Spanish and English versions. We include some logos at the bottom so that shows that it's a community effort because it turns into a community event. The back side of the cards are where the parents will fill out their information. So that this is your documentation of who picked up the child, when they were picked up from that location. So if somebody comes back, that tendency is that another parent or relative shows up the reunification site and that child is no longer there, you could pull up documentation of who picked up that child. So this is the documentation part to ensure that we have the right child to the right parent or guardian. Here's the Grant County Conference Center. When we talk about flows, we have bus routes, working with law enforcement, talking about the best way to get buses in, and also with the transportation department. These are designated bus routes coming in. They're the gold color lines. Then we have the parent pickup area, and they're the parent pickup routes are going to be in the red lines. Again, talking with law enforcement, understanding what their needs are to be able to control the traffic, where they're going to be parking, what entrances are going to be used for students, parents, or staging personnel. So again, pre-planned ahead of time. This is the conference interior view, talking about the flow, how parents are going to enter, where students are going to enter, services such as food services, where their entrance is, and staging. It also breaks down what the rooms within that conference center will look like and what they'll be designated to be used for. Again, we have a student assembly area, parent assembly area, where we have computer access, power access for computers, mental health areas. We need to have a separate bathroom area for our students and staff members so that they can stay or be separated still from those parents. And also the parents need restroom facilities as well. So with law enforcement, understanding what the interior security posts will be, where they need people located in the event that we have to deploy a reunification process in Grant County. For the people at the reunification site to be able to set up our needs, again, the administration at either Cobre or Silver City Schools would initiate that we need a reunification setup. They would communicate that to the emergency manager. Emergency manager would communicate that to the conference center, and then Mr. Cruz is aware of the setup. He'd be able to get himself and some others to be able to set up this reunification site so that you're prepared to receive the students and staff as well as the parents coming in. Our next steps, August 8th, we're doing all staff training for both Cobre and Silver schools. It's important that that training happens with both sets of faculty and staff, so everybody's on board with the process and the roles that they may be filling. Because the understanding is if something happens in Cobre, Silver City folks, Silver City schools will have to offer some assistance for Cobre and vice versa. Cobre's would offer assistance to Silver in a situation that needs to have a reunification process. There'll also be administration training on that day. It'll happen right after the staff training. Administration training will really focus on incident command and the role school administrators have in not only the reunification process, but with ICS, or the incident command system. And then on that morning, I've reached out to the new county emergency manager, and we'll be doing some county employee training regarding reunification, because again, this is a community effort and we'll be needing those folks to assist. At our last meeting, it was agreed upon that September 23rd is going to be a full-scale drill so that we practice this process and really understand the ins and outs of it, so that if we ever had to use it, that we have people trained and they know what to do and how to perform a reunification when needed. That is the end of my presentation. And I'll ask if there's any questions.
I got a question. So if something happens in the Silver School District, how many Cobre employees would be required to assist in that situation?
That will be, it has to be flexible or understanding depending on the situation and what your schools will be looking at having to deal with within Cobre, and vice versa. Within Aztec schools, when our school shooting took place, every school in the entire county went into some sort of preventative action, if it's a lockdown or a shelter in place. So the communication at one point will have to go through superintendents to see who is available to help when the situation arises.
Along those lines, if there's a situation that comes up in Silver, it would seem like it would be very likely that we would be doing what you mentioned in terms of a lockdown, but also maybe considering having the students go home and do a reunification from within the schools themselves, just a matter as a safety issue. So would that be part of this element, or would everybody have to go? If it's in one site and the neighboring district finds it necessary to close down and just for preventative purposes, would the Unification Center then do both districts, or should we be able to do the reunification process at the individual schools that are not affected by the immediate circumstance?
Yes, you're correct. You'd be doing it at your individual schools that aren't at the impacted site. Then your staff at that site would be, if chose to, which I would highly recommend that parents would start picking up their children. All I could talk about experience that we had within Aztec schools. Parents picked up all their children. Our incident happened at the high school. The elementary schools, parents were there picking up their children. There were some left at the end that buses did transport home. And that happened in the other districts as well, because an event, worst case scenario event, all parents want are their children, and they'll be picking up children from all sites.
So does that training go into the sites, the individual school sites?
This training, reunification training, will be going to all sites. Yes.
Okay. And so I assume that would include specific radio frequencies and equipment that would be put in place?
Yes, sir.
And we'll have that equipment on hand?
So radio frequencies, radio communications, now that's on individual schools, what they currently have. I brought up with this committee the importance of radio communications. not only, and there's some work to be done, definitely between law enforcement, dispatch, schools. Again, rail communication is critical, and I think there needs to be more discussion on the direction that needs to go within both school districts.
May I jump in here?
Hold on, and as we plan for the September 23rd event, there are still a lot of logistics that we have to work through in order to do the mock drills. So we're still working on some of that and how that's going to look.
My turn? Okay, I just wanted to jump in here. Thank you, Mr. President, Dr. Spalletta, Superintendent, Grant Banish, hi. I wanted to jump in here because part of crisis response or critical incident response, there's different components to it. So reunification is the end process. So when you're thinking about lockdown, shut down, and send kids home because something happened in Silver, the possibility for that to happen is unlikely unless it's a militia. If we have an influx of militia that's taken over, that's when you'll see something like that. But if you have a lockdown in Silver because there's an active shooter in the community or there's one in the school, it's highly unlikely that the threat is critical in our area. So more than likely, law enforcement is already in communication with the Cobre District people. So we may do a shelter in place, but we won't have to actually shut everything down and send everybody home. So if you think of reunification, reunification happens after the critical incident, and it's not just active shooter. It could be an airplane down in San Lorenzo. It could be a hazmat situation from the trains that go back and forth if there's that situation. So it's not just active shooter, but it's other components to it. So it can be utilized as a structured, organized system that's in place. Because when you think of Uvalde, if you go back through Google it, you'll see how chaotic it can get. And with this process, it's a structured process to ensure the safety and security of all our students getting to the proper people that need to be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But going along with those lines, in Uvalde, person had plans to go on to another school or to another site. So containment may not be as readily available as we would think. And I definitely would want to err in the way of safety. And if it means then telling everybody we're closing home, you need to get safe.
And that process happens with local law enforcement and school administration in communication together. They determine what the threat level is for our students. If the threat level is high, then I know our district acts accordingly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Grant. And if the threat level is low, then we take other crisis planning management levels into place for our school. Or vice versa. If the threat is in Cobre, Silver does the same thing.
Correct. It's going to be on the school district on what actions they're going to take. And obviously, you're going to take the highest action possible at the beginning. You know, my recommendation, if you don't know what's going on, that you need to do a lockdown and then assess the situation accordingly. And then, you know, you could always move out of a lockdown. And I would highly suggest that communication is going on between law enforcement. You know, when we talk about ICS, Incident Command System, and when we talk about unified command, bringing school personnel within making decisions within the command post, that's where that information is shared and then given out to individual schools on what actions they need to continue to do. But you're going to have parents arriving at every school within Cobre, and you'll have parents arriving within Silver schools as well.
Agreed.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that piece of information.
Thank you, Annette.
And Dr. Spalletta did put a copy of August 8th agenda in your packet, so we do have a full day of training on that day. In the morning is when we're gonna have our motivational speaker and our conscious discipline training. We'll have lunch provided to all staffs in both districts, and then in the afternoon, Grant will present to everyone. And then the teachers will be dismissed, and he'll keep the leadership team so that we can delve further into the different goals for the leadership team. Thank you, Grant. We appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Okay, now in conclusion of that, we'll go into item G, 3G, the board member interviews and possible appointment. So you have them in order?
I do, so I'll start with Mr. Dominguez.
Okay.
Are you gonna do it? Thank you. Where would you like me to sit at? Seat here. There we go.
How would that work for the audience? So, yeah, they're on the side, kind of a side view there.
Can
Can
they
you
see
see
him
it?
okay?
Yeah, pretty close.
I'm good, thank you.
There you go. Hello.
Hi.
They're gonna work, Robert.
Serene, how are you?
Here's a copy of the questions that they're gonna ask you.
Possibly to move from, he's not in the plan.
You're good, like, here?
Like right there, just actually sitting right there, kind of looking this way. Or you gonna move it? Okay, that's good. Okay. Mr. Dominguez, thank you for coming and expressing an interest and wanting to be a part of the decision of the Board of Education. We are going to do 5 questions. I'm sorry, 6 questions. And when we get to all the applicants, then we'll be possibly making a selection. We can table it if we want to explore it a little bit further. But the application process has been closed and we'll be considering these applicants at this point. If it is that we find that we can select 2 of the candidates that we have right now, then we can make that selection. The appointment will not happen until there's verification of your eligibility. That eligibility will be determined by the county clerk, and the criteria for that is that you're a registered voter and you live within the district. If it is that anyone that we select doesn't meet that criteria, then we will continue with the remaining pool of applicants to make a selection to replace that particular selection. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, then we'll start off individually asking questions. I'll start out with the first question. We are interviewing several candidates. Why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board?
I guess my best answer to that is I grew up in the district. I graduated from Cobre and ended up the Cobre School District my entire life, as well as my family, my brothers and sisters, my wife, my kids, as well on the Cobre School. So I have a personal interest in the Cobre School District. That now my grandkids are within the district, and I think that education somehow or another has gone by the wayside. And I think that we need to strengthen it, and I think the group here directs the school district, obviously with community input. But I think that I feel that I should or should be considered for the board because of my interest in the well-being of the school district.
Thank you. Mr. Gracias.
Okay, Mr. Dominguez, second question. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Cobre School District?
Unity. I think the biggest thing that I've seen, I've watched the YouTube videos. I read the articles in the newspaper. I've seen that one of the issues or the main issue hurting this district is unity. I think that not only as a school board or the school district, but the community as a whole. I think the entire community needs to come here and get involved. I find myself being guilty of that. I sit and I fume over articles and videos that I watch on YouTube and haven't done much about it. I think a challenge here in the Cobre School District is to bring this community together, get more involvement from families, parents, just community members in general.
Ms. Moody?
How would you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Naturally, everyone has their own opinion. I have several of mine. But I think that when the decision is made with a majority rule or majority vote, I think we all support it and move forward, and let's make the most of it and let the negativity leave.
Mr. Spillane, would you like to refuse?
Didn't know I was
Dr.
asking questions, but I will.
Okay.
Mr. Dominguez, there is a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation?
I think that maybe recruiting some of these universities such as Western and getting a lot of these people that are about to graduate that are qualified to be teachers, I think it's easy to go and offer somebody some money to show up and babysit a class, but I think that maybe some serious recruiting, both were students at WNMU or retired teachers that are qualified to teach, where the students say teacher's gone for a long period. You don't just want to turn over the classroom to just anybody. I think that people need to be qualified to do that. A day or so, well, yeah, but there's teachers that obviously leave for long periods, and I think they need to be replaced or substituted for by a qualified individual.
Thank you.
How will you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment?
I have quite a bit of experience in that with my work background. Obviously, I believe in team unity. Teamwork gets it done. I'm not an individualist where I believe that I should be the tyrant or the so-called self-appointed, whatever you want to call me. I think that we need teamwork, and that gets it. I don't care if it's in sports, in family, or whatever. Here we need teamwork, and everybody needs to come together and work together as a team.
Mr. Dominguez, do you feel comfortable with raising a question against the status quo?
No, I believe in questioning anything. I want satisfaction, and not necessarily to gain an edge or to have my way, but I will question the status quo. I've done it many times, and that's the way we get things done.
Okay, that's the last question. If you want to stay around and you can remain as a member of the audience and watch the others come by. But we won't go into the vote until we've interviewed everybody. You can watch from home if you like on YouTube. So your choice.
Thank you.
Can you leave those questions for the next person?
Excuse me?
Can you leave the questions on the table for the next
You wrote
person?
my name on it.
Sorry about that.
I thought I was supposed to answer on paper.
I'm gonna make it.
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you.
That's all right, Mr. Dominguez.
You can take it.
I could shred it.
I didn't answer it.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez.
Thank you.
Can I sit here?
You can just. Who's next?
I'm sure that I was gonna be asking questions, but
Thought I throw you up. Huh?
thank you. I made a copy just in case.
I forgot about it. You might not have that in front of you.
Can I have the other one? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hello.
Hi.
So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you.
Okay, we will be interviewing all the candidates that did apply. There was nobody that was not qualified. We're taking all applications and we're interviewing everyone. We are gonna, at the end of the interviews, we'll decide whether we have enough information that we're comfortable in making choices. And at that point, we can either table the process or make the selection tonight. The possibility of filling 2 positions is what we're looking for. And if it is that we identify 2 people that we are comfortable offering positions to, then we will do that. And subject to those people filling fulfilling the requirements, it's looked at by the county clerk, and those requirements are that they be a registered voter and they reside in the county. If it is that one of those or both are not, do not meet that criteria, then we will continue the interview later on, and we'll continue the selection process with the same applicants at possibly the next meeting.
Okay.
Well, it would be at the next meeting. We wouldn't get the results from the Grant County clerk today.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have any questions for us?
No.
Okay, we'll be reading, each one of us will take turns reading one of 6 questions. And as we go around, if you need any clarification, please let us know. And other than that, they're pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready to start?
Yes.
Okay. You want to start?
Sure. We are interviewing several candidates. Why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board?
So I was employed with the district for 3 years. So I have good communication and relationships with families, parents. and students, both in the Central and Hurley communities. I have experience being on boards. I was appointed by Governor Martinez to the WNMU Board of Regents. And during that time, I served as Vice President and Secretary. I currently serve as a Little League board member. And during my time at Western, we worked with budget, policies, procedures. We had different subcommittees. And I currently serve on the New Mexico Commission on the Status of Women. And so we meet every month and we have a report that is due to the governor every year. But I'm very familiar with board procedures, working with people with different personalities. As a teacher, you have sometimes 21 different personalities that you're dealing with. I'm very organized. I'm a great communicator. I believe in teamwork. And those are the reasons that I think that separate me from the other candidates.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Cobre School District?
I think the biggest challenge right now is probably teacher retention. It's a huge problem nationwide. The pandemic, I think, caused some burnout with teachers, and they had to adapt very quickly. So I think just getting back into a normal structure and schedule, but teacher retention is a huge problem.
Okay, Mr. Gay, so how would you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
I would support the decision because if it was a majority vote, like I said, I believe in teamwork, and sometimes we may not see eye to eye on a decision, but at the end of the day, we're a team, and I'll have to go with the vote majority. That's how it worked at the university too, with our regents, and it was a majority vote.
Fourth question, there is a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation?
I think substitutes, hiring the pay for substitute teachers, bringing retired teachers back, encouraging that. I think the teacher preparation program is great. I went through an alternative license program, so I didn't have my degree in teaching, but the program I went through was great. And I think promoting programs like that with our district, and I was fortunate enough that the Cobre district supported me in that. They offered me, my textbooks and paying for the program for me to obtain my teacher license. So I think really highlighting those teacher preparation programs, the new fellowship program that they have with student teachers, offering them a stipend. I think teachers need to be paid, even with the fellowship, that $35,000 salary they're getting, that's good for someone just starting out. Internships, paid internships, I think would be good too. And using those high school students, those seniors that want to be teachers too.
Thank you.
How will you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment?
I believe listening, hearing everyone out. I think that's very important. Just building a camaraderie too, having conversations, getting to know each other. I think board retreats are a great way to do that. And like I said, just having those conversations and that teamwork working together. I think we need to remember why we're here, like our purpose, and keep going back to that, why we're here and what we're doing is important.
Do you feel comfortable in raising a question against the status quo?
Absolutely. I think we need to advocate for all people, even if it's something we're not in favor of or it's uncomfortable. We need to speak up about it.
that was less question. And we'll, like I said, we're going to go continue until we finish all the interviews. And you're welcome to stay here and observe the remaining interviews, or you can go home and watch it on YouTube, or wait for a call from us this afternoon, or this evening, if you choose to.
Okay, I think I'll stay, but I wondered if there was an opportunity to ask questions of you guys.
Yes, if everybody's okay with that?
I don't know that we offered the first person that opportunity.
That's true. The requirement is that we do everything uniform.
Okay.
And had that not been done with the first applicant, we should then not allow it going
Okay.
forward.
But there is public input later.
Yes, yeah.
That's after.
Okay.
On the agenda, there is an opportunity to ask questions as community member.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for applying.
Sharon Miller. Sharon Miller next.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Ms. Smith.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, welcome and thank you for your application. We're very grateful. You're interested in serving in this capacity and helping us with the skills and your experience here within the district. We are going to ask you 6 questions, and we'll rotate our turns in asking those questions, and you can respond. If you need any clarification, you can let us know, and then we'll provide that. If the process is that we'll interview all the candidates today. If we see that there's the potential to go ahead and fill those positions, then we can do that action at the end of this process. And if we select 2, if we fill those 2 positions, then the position isn't really completed until the selection isn't completed until you are cleared by the county clerk, and the county clerk will verify that you are a registered voter and you live within the district. And if such is the case that you are clear, then we'll go on to the swearing in and you'll become a board member. If not, then we'll have to waive the offer to another candidate. And we can do that at the next meeting. We'll continue in the interview process with the current applicants. And as well as if somebody else is not, and you're one of the remaining ones, then you'll be reconsidered if you choose to for that position if one person doesn't meet the qualifications after being selected. Do you have any questions for us?
No.
Okay, then we'll do the questions, and I'll ask the first one. We're interviewing several candidates, so why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board?
I've been with Cobre as an educator and an administrator for many years. And so Cobre has my heart. And I retired once and was asked to come back and then retired again. So I feel like the board is maybe the next step to be involved in working with this school and the challenges that they're facing. I've been in a lot of aspects on bargaining committees with this, on policy making. setting up the schools, like walking into different schools and helping do assessments with teachers and things like that.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz.
Okay, Mr. Miller, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Cobre School District?
I think the biggest challenge right now was what COVID did in closing the schools, because it was a very complicated process. And living out on the members, it was a very difficult challenge because we did not have the internet. So the system wasn't set up to provide what was needed at that time. And so I think the challenge is I noticed I was online every day with these kids that were living with me and attending school when we could get online. So there wasn't much parent participation nor making their children go to school or be online. And so I think now we're suffering the results of that, along with the isolation of the kids during that time. And I think that that's part of what the challenge is right now, is because of that issue.
The third question, how would you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
The board is the majority rules. And having put and implemented in schools cooperative teaching, cooperative learning, cooperative working together, it's a matter of a collection of ideas, and then everybody supports those ideas. Whether you would necessarily totally agree or not, you support as a board. When I walk off of the board, I'm not on the board. I'm a group in this board. So collectively we agree. We may have differences, but we practice civility.
Thank you.
There is a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation?
The alternative licensure, I'm for that. But with the understanding that there still has to be a lot of preparation for that person. They may be an expert in the field that their degree is, or the degree that they're working in, but they still need the education of how to work with children. So I think that we need to promote that. I'm glad the governor has agreed that teachers and staff of schools can come back, because that was important. I found that when I went back, the skills I had were needed at the school I was placed at. And so we need to look for retired teachers and recruit them. But I also trust that the superintendent has the knowledge, and I support his knowledge in how to recruit too.
Thank you.
How will you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment?
Well, like I said, civility, integrity, honesty, and we can agree to disagree, but when the bottom note is played, then we all agree, and we support each other in that decision, and we support the ideas behind that with a clear understanding of where everything was coming from. So having put together teams and things, that was the ultimate thing, is that we will agree, and we will agree to disagree, but we will agree in the end for the best of the educational system for kids.
Mr. Miller, last question. Do you feel comfortable with raising a question against the status quo?
Yes, I've done it before. Yes, you have to have an open mind on status quo, and you have to be willing to exercise the options of looking for something bigger and better and different.
That's the last question. You have the choice of if you want to remain in the audience, or you can go home and watch it however you wish to listen to it, or have us call you with the results. Whichever is your preference, you're welcome to stay.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
Elizabeth B. next.
Hi.
Okay. Questions that you want to ask, if they're okay.
Okay, thank you. Hi, how are you?
Thank you for your application and your interest in serving on the Cobre School Board. Look forward to the interviews and making our selections. And your interest is greatly appreciated. The process will be, we'll ask these 6 questions, and after we conclude the 6 questions, we will continue on with the other interviews. Once we've completed the interviews, then we will we will decide whether we have enough information that we want to make a decision today or tonight. If that is the case, then we'll select 2 members, 2 applicants, and those applicants will have to go through an approval process by the clerk of the county, clerk, sorry. And that process will include reviewing whether the applicant is a member of the district, as well resides in the district and is a registered voter. If that's the case, then we will go on with the appointment and the swearing in, and you'll become a board member at the next meeting. If it is the case that any one of the applicants is chosen doesn't meet that criteria, then we'll continue at the next meeting with interviewing we'll continue with the people that have interviewed in considering them for the position. We won't redo the interviews. And then we will make the same offer in terms of going through the clerk of the board, clerk of the county, and then having succeeded in that, you'll be placed on board, or whoever selected. Do you have any questions before we start?
No.
Okay, I didn't confuse you enough.
Just enough.
Okay. You'll start with this.
Okay, Mr. Dean, we are interviewing several candidates. Why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board?
I am a member of this community, lifelong member. I'm also have volunteered in the past in the community with local churches, different organizations. I was actually PTO for my elementary and worked on a Down syndrome program as well. I was also a teacher for 8 years. I worked in Denver Public Schools. I was a 3rd grade English transition teacher. And in the last 2 years that I taught, I was actually the president of the DEA, the teachers union. So I'm really aware of working with boards, teacher contracts, and stuff like that. I'm also currently working at the mine site. And so I really know a lot of people in the community. I'm a really great communicator. I'm super organized, and I really love this community, and I love the district. And I think that being on the board, I have a lot of heart and dedication to my district and the school and the children of the community.
Steve, the second question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge facing Cobre School District?
Teacher retention. I think that having good teachers and keeping good teachers is always in every district. I mean, nationally, we can see that as well. I think that right now that's the biggest obstacle that the school has.
Thank you.
How would you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of?
As a team member, as a board member, I mean, eventual board member, of course, I would support the board's decision and whatever it was. And I believe that especially as you work in a team that's having really like honest conversations about what's going on and understanding maybe why my choice wasn't the best choice or your choice was better for the school district. Now it's just for my personal ego, but for the district and the teachers and the students, I think that's supporting the team is really important.
There's a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation?
I believe that I always thought that when I was in high school, some of my best teachers were actually retired, not retired from the actual academic. So my math teacher was actually a mathematician. So, I mean, having people who were actually retired in their scope of work teach, have them work on a different kind of licensure and allow them to come and actually teach their knowledge to the students. I also believe that retired teachers come back, but also maybe not do like, have them come back full time, maybe do like a team teaching. So 2 teachers work together and maybe they don't want to work full time, but maybe like do a couple of days and a couple of days and they could tag team grades or something like that. And even substitutes or recruiting like they do at college. How they do have a really great teachers program here at Western, and there's people from Deming. I mean, recruit people that are not, I mean, have them on a different licensure and come in and help teach. I was on when I was first started teaching at elementary school, my degree was in secondary education. So I was on a different licensure and I found out I loved elementary school. And so doing that to me really allowed me to see something different that I wasn't, you know, I didn't have the education, but eventually went back and got my bachelor's and my master's degree in education.
Sorry about that, slow.
No worries.
Yeah, that's it. Let's go.
Mrs. Dean, so how will you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment?
I believe that open and honest communication is key. I think that we're all here on the board to, what we do matters and what we say and the decision we make is not gonna affect just us, but everybody across the board. And even as me, like I have kids that attend Cobre schools and I know other kids and families and parents, and I think that having a really good cohesive group of people that can communicate and be honest with each other really will make a difference in making good decisions for the community and the board and the school district. And being friendly and kind, nice, all that wonderful stuff, respectful.
And the last question, Ms. Dean, is do you feel comfortable with raising a question against the status quo?
I do, and I think that's actually really important. I think because with everything that's happened, COVID, the last couple of years, teachers have really, I mean, as anything we do, really need to look outside the box. And so what is the best course of action for something? Sometimes it's not what we used to do. It's not just the status quo. What else is out there? What can we look at? What are some really great ideas that maybe we're missing? And I always think that, like a lot of times, this is just my opinion, but the board sometimes, what the board makes and decisions make affect teachers and I mean directly students. And sometimes teachers don't have that buy-in and we don't hear from teachers and maybe even talk to teachers. What do you think about this? How do you think would be the best course of action? So not only that, but like really looking outside the box and viewing things in a different way to make things better for the district and the students and everybody in the community as well. I mean, it does change.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
That's the last question. So you're welcome to sit here and stay and observe the rest of them. And you also, if you want to leave, that's fine too. You can listen to them on YouTube, and we'll contact you as soon as we know.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last one, Mr. Mr. President. I'm just going to need a second.
What's that? We'll just continue on and then we'll discuss this. Okay. Welcome. And thank you for your application and your interest in serving on the board. And we look forward to moving in a direction that will make this board be much more effective and benefit the schools and the entire district. Your application is one of several, and you'll be considered for, the process is now that we'll each ask you a question, 6 questions, and we'll rotate. And then once we get after that, once we're done with the interview, we'll go over the process that remains. Okay?
The first question is, we're interviewing several candidates. Why should we select you to be on the Cobre School Board?
Well, I guess number one, I just have to say, I've had a chance to talk to the candidates. I think no matter what decisions they, whenever you make it, you got a great group tonight of candidates. So I don't think you'd go wrong making any selections tonight. Myself, I've had a lot of experience on the management end. I've worked medicine pretty much all my life. I started out in EMS and eventually went to nursing school. I've worked as a nurse and nurse manager for a long time now. I also did sit on city council for one 4-year appointment on city council. So got a lot of experience from that standpoint of working with other members of boards and working through processes, projects, acquiring property, things like, walking trails, working on those kind of community projects. So had a lot of opportunity to work on those type of projects as well. Have worked with budgets fairly large. My previous position, my department budget was a little over $2 billion. I'm sure small in comparison to the school's budget overall, but a significant amount of money. And so I've had the opportunity to be accountable to budgets, to work with budgets, and work on putting budgets in place and purchases and those type of things as well.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Cobre School District?
A very similar challenge to what we're facing every day. Maintaining and hiring staff. Teachers, certainly a huge issue across the country and across not just schools, but nursing and every other field right now. It's a huge challenge to get staff in. So I think working to improve what we can offer and working individually with those that are involved and working with us and making sure that we can try to recruit at a even level with some of the other organizations.
Next question is, how would you support the board's decision that you did not vote in favor of?
I've certainly been in that position. Everybody's not going to agree all the time. And that's why we have a board, number one, is that we get multiple views and multiple people involved in the decision-making process. I certainly would support that process when that decision has been made. It's been made by the majority of the group, whether there be one or two dissenters, whatever it might be. But we need to work together as an organization to move everything forward and to work well together. We're not always going to agree. And we can disagree and still be courteous and polite and work with each other on an everyday basis. I'm sure most of us that our managers many times may not agree with all the decisions that get made, but we have an organization we work for, and our job is to improve that place of work for everybody else and make sure it's successful.
All right, next question is, there's a shortage of teachers and substitutes. What role could the school board have in alleviating this situation?
I think it needs to be a multi-pronged approach. Certainly not something we're going to solve overnight. And I think we need to look at, again, the retirement side of teaching. I know there's been some rule changes made, said some of the retired school teachers can come back within organizations and not be penalized in their retirement setting. Those type of things, working with local colleges in the teaching programs, encouraging our high school students that may be interested in teaching and moving forward and supporting them in that in any way that we can, and moving through that process, just continuing to try to build, because we're not going to fix it today, tomorrow, but build teachers for the future, certainly, and try to improve what we have to offer so that we're competitive with other organizations, not only in the area, but in the next counties. We see it every day in the nursing side is, across the street, they're offering $2 an hour more or whatever it might be, and those incentives. So we have to be able to continue to improve what we are able to offer, whether it be retirement side of it. Often when I talk to nurses that are applying at our organization, one of the things especially our older nurses, is I talk to them about what we offer retirement-wise. It's better than they're going to get at most private employers, especially what they're going to get a lot of the other local hospitals that are owned by corporations. So.
Number 5 is, how would you interact with other board members to create a unified board and team environment?
Well, I think common courtesy starts and goes a long ways. Getting to know your other board members, interacting with them at other events, trainings, certainly learning everybody has a trigger point, I guess, but kind of learning how everybody reacts to everything, making sure that you are courteous at all times, not being aggressive.
Thank you.
Number 6. Do you feel comfortable with raising a question against the status quo?
Certainly. And again, I think you can do so politely, courteously, and make your point. Certainly, there's going to be those things that are occurring or that are going on. Every organization I've ever been in, there's things that you do not necessarily agree with. And I think sometimes those decisions maybe lead to some of the problems we run into, personnel-wise, those type of things. So I think by, bringing it to the forefront, and again, working with the majority to resolve it, whatever that resolution is. And it may not be the way you wanted it to go. Be courteous and polite about it, and work to resolve the problems.
That was the final question, and that concludes the interview. We will continue with selection process at this point. And we will be selecting two board members or deciding to table if we decide that we need to go further. If that's the case, then we will continue with reviewing only those that have applied thus far and deliberate on our selection. If it is that we make the selection this evening and we select two board members, the criteria is that they still have to pass the requirements by the county clerk. And those requirements are that the applicants that we choose be a resident of the district and be a registered voter. If it is that our selection does not meet that criteria, then we'll reconvene the board at the next meeting to look at the remaining candidates from these interviews and make another selection.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay and observe. Okay. If the board is okay, it'll take about 3 minutes to kind of prioritize our selection, and then we will start voting on people that are nominated. So if you want to take a look at your notes real quickly, or for the next couple of minutes, and then we can choose. We can begin the nomination process. And I'd like to say, starting off, I'm very, very pleased with the candidates, and I think the end result is going to be a very positive one. And I'm kind of glad we don't have 5 open positions, but but you would be good. All of you would be very good in filling those positions.
It's a hard choice.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm very impressed with all the candidates. It's gonna be a very hard choice, though.
Okay. Are we ready to begin nominations? I'll open the floor to nominations for
Which position?
first position.
I think you have to name the position because who they're replacing,
Okay, because they have the same dates that they're term.
but they're different positions. So when they run again,
Okay. Then let us nominate the person to fill the position vacated by Ralph Sepulveda.
I nominate Gabby Vigay for the position of Ralph Sepulveda that was left vacant.
Okay. Then, not needing a second, we will go ahead.
Well, you can
We can
ask
nominate
for
more.
other, there
Okay.
can be more than one nomination for each position, and then you close the nominations and then we vote.
Would you like, do you have a nomination that you'd like to make?
Yes. I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Dean to position one.
Okay. And I'd like to nominate Sharon Miller.
Well, it's gonna be tricky if we all vote for the same person we nominated.
What are the odds?
I'm just saying.
It's true.
And this is just one position, so there's gonna be a second position
This is true.
where,
Okay, I'll entertain the votes for Ms. Begay. All those in favor of voting for Mr. Gay signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Okay. Motion carries. Selection carries. Now go on to the second position. Take nominations for the second position, which is that of Frank Cordova.
I'd like to nominate Elizabeth Dean for the position of Frank Cordova.
Any discussion? Then I'll entertain the vote.
You have to ask if there's any.
Sorry?
You have to
Oh, I'm
ask if
sorry.
there's any more
I was
nominations.
going with the same one, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That's the second, or is this position two?
Yeah.
Yes, second position. You have any nominations for the second position?
I nominated Elizabeth Dean for the
Yes.
second position.
Yes, so you can nominate another person, or if you want to continue with the nomination, I believe you had, yeah, you had, so, okay, so you don't have any other nomination? I would like to nominate Robert Dominguez. And so, all those in favor of selecting Elizabeth Dean?
Aye.
Aye. Then it is unanimous. Elizabeth Dean is selected as in position to Frank Cordova. I'd like to thank every one of
Yes,
you.
thank you.
You guys did an excellent job. And please keep in mind that your participation can still be very effective and we have that highest part of our agenda is community input. Your interest here should not end here. We welcome your input throughout the school year, and personal contact are welcomed as well. So with that, we will contact the clerk, the county clerk, and make that outreach to chosen candidates. And we hope to have, the next meeting is going to be 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, which is just the second Monday in August. And at that point, we will have the swearing in to become members. And from that point on, you'll be involved in all the action of the board. We'll look at obtaining training for all of us and in orientation. And we are having 2 big events coming up this week. And that is the convocation, which is on Wednesday, and it starts at 8:30 in the morning, and it'll be at the Fine Arts Center, Performing Arts Center. And you're welcome to join us. And if it's okay with the board, we can introduce them as being selected, not yet officially members, but having been selected.
And then we should have contacted the county clerk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, then that might have it finalized by then. And also on Saturday, there is Summerfest, which goes from 9 till 1? 2. Till 2. And you're welcome to attend that as well. And that has been advertised that board members will be present and there may be a forum.
Yes.
Okay. So, and everybody is welcome to attend these, and we thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And congratulations.
Now, we'll move on, brings us up to, item 3C, which is the approval of bills.
Actually, board minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, approval of board minutes. And they were not included in the packet, so we just,
They were on the one on Friday. The packet was out on Friday. They were there.
okay,
Oh, and they're here too.
okay. So I haven't reviewed them. If anybody else has, you have any concerns about the minutes? You weren't at that.
No, I'm not.
So, okay, sure. Then, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We approve the minutes. Then now we have the approval of bills. And I have a question. Has this been reviewed by the committee, the finance committee?
Yes. Yes, we reviewed, oh, I forgot my budget binder. We reviewed the bills last Monday. And
These were
yeah,
included. These were included in.
they were, I remember, because we had questions. So yeah, we discussed these bills. Mrs. Holbein answered questions that the finance committee had, and everything was okay.
So the committee recommends the approval, so?
Yes. Yes, the committee recommends the approval of the bills.
Okay, may I have a motion for the approval of the bills?
So,
A second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the bills as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Now, the approval of disposition of property.
Mr. President and board members, several weeks ago, we discussed the disposition of the property, the buses and the cars, and we did leave out a vehicle that was actually at a local body shop being repaired. It had been stolen over a year ago. So we'd like to add that to the list also. Ms. Holbein has included it in your packet.
Yeah, I don't see them.
was it on price?
It was in today's packet. I apologize. It's just it's a half page.
There it is, okay. Behind the doors. Okay. So are you recommending to include this in the?
I am. Ms. Barilla researched this, found out that the vehicle had been brought to the body shop to be repaired, and that it was quite expensive to have it repaired. It's not worth it at this point to do that. So we'd like to include it with the other vehicles that we put on the disposition list.
Have a motion for adding the disposition list?
I move to add this vehicle to the disposition list.
Is there a second?
Second.
Your discussion. I have a question in terms of, I had seen one vehicle that had been vandalized and I guess it was stolen and then spray painted with some graffiti. But it was not the vehicle of this type. It was more of a suburban type. Where is that one in the inventory, or is that one of the
That
operating
one is
ones?
painted.
Okay. And so, this one then is still with the, what was the damage to it?
There's a lot more damage to it besides just the graffiti that's on there. So the estimate was $6,200 to fix it. So it had a lot of body damage and the graffiti and other things. And so it just gonna cost a lot.
And it's been in the repair shop for how long? For a year? Okay. Okay, I don't have any questions. So, all those in favor of adding this item to the property disposition lists, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Item E is the approval of the auditor. Approval of auditor. This is
In your packet, there's 3 pages about the auditor procurement process. I'll let Jackie from our finance department go through that with you.
Mr. President, members of the board, on June 7th, the district requested competitive sealed proposals for professional audit services for fiscal year of 21-22. The deadline for the proposal was July the 5th. And you have in your packet the summary of evaluation. Did everybody have a chance to go over it? The district did receive 3 proposals, and they were evaluated and reviewed based on set criteria that was outlined in the scope of work provided by Cobre Schools. The evaluation criteria included responsiveness of offer, the experience of the offer, and the record of performance and the cost. The proposals were due by the end of the business day on July 5th. Members that were evaluating the proposal consisted of audit committee members Frank Cordova, Vicky Smith, Corina Rivera, and Dr. Jeff Spoletta, Teresa Levine, and Antonio Gazzola. The team members reviewed proposals from the following offers: Baldwin Accounting and Consulting, Beasley Mitchell and Company, and Jaramillo Accounting Group. And all 3 of the proposals were complete with pricing specifications, and it all exceeded the scope of work. The required 2 reference questionnaires that the state of New Mexico requires as part of the RFP process that is required was also submitted. The maximum available points that could be given to the company was 100 points. This was a very, very close evaluation that we did. Baldwin Accounting and Consulting scored 95.5. Beasley Mitchell Company scored 95, and Jaramillo Accounting Group scored 95.5. Because Jaramillo Accounting Group and Baldwin Accounting and Consulting were tied in their total scores, the technical specification scores and prices were reviewed separately. Jaramillo Accounting Group received the highest technical score with 87. Baldwin Accounting and Consulting scored 85.5, and Beasley Mitchell and Company scored 85.6. Therefore, the evaluation committee recommended Jaramillo Accounting Group. So I, as the procurement manager, recommend Jaramillo Accounting Group to provide audit services for the Cobre Consolidated School District.
Yes, sir.
So it says the evaluation committee. Is that the same as the audit committee?
It's members of the audit committee, and altogether we had 7.
So all the members of the audit committee were present?
They were not all present, no.
Because our policy says the audit committee should make the recommendation.
There was one person that was missing from our committee members.
So who there was from the board?
I listed them right there in the evaluation summary.
Frank.
Frank, what was there?
And what date was this?
This was done on July the 8th.
On Friday, July the 8th?
Yeah.
The committee met?
Mm-hmm. And you have all of that information in your.
Vicky Smith, Karina Rivetta, they're on the audit committee?
Yes, they are.
So the only one missing would be, Troy?
Troy was missing.
And Vicky Smith was there as well. That's-
So technically it is the audit committee. Yeah, okay. Okay. I make a motion to approve, Automio Accounting Group to provide audit services for the Cobre Consolidated School District as recommended by the audit committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
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 Mr. President, just before you continue your voting, it is for 3 years, but it is renewable every year. I just want you to be aware of that.
And
So they can opt out of the contract?
Well, we are giving it to them for 3 years, but every year we have the option to continue with them, or they can, I guess, opt out.
That's very standard. I looked into it.
And
Summer.
is it our option as well that if we decide to choose not to renew?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Oh, and for future reference, can we have the contracts up front so we can take a look at them as well?
The contract?
Yes.
The contract is actually produced by the state auditor. So once the recommendation of the vote is done, then the information has to be inputted into the state auditor. It's called OSA Connect, and then they generate the contract. They send the contract to the agency, to the person that met the qualifications, and then they send it to us to negotiate on those things. So the state auditor handles the rest of it.
So instead of approving the contract, we should just be approving the selection.
Exactly. And
Okay.
that's what you do as approval of the auditor. You did not put contract on it.
Okay. Then all those in favor of approving the selection of the auditor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Look, thank you. Item F is the approval of the backpack program.
Mr. President, board members, at our previous meeting, we had a presentation about the Commons Backpack Program, doing a pilot program. After talking to the executive director of that program, with our principal at Bayard Elementary, and looking at the food programs at our other schools, I recommend that we approve the pilot program for Bayard Elementary for this school year.
Have you heard the recommendation? Do I have a motion?
I recommend that Bayard Elementary is awarded the approval of that program.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the backpack program in Bayard Elementary, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, now it comes to a part of, we've already done the interviews and appointments, so we're going now to unfinished business. And item A is the policy work sessions.
So I know that we've all been busy, but I wanted to ask that we can continue to do signups for regular policy work sessions so we can continue with policy revisions. Are we okay putting the schedule together to volunteer 2 days a week to do that? Since we do have more board members, and I'll ask that our directors assist with the areas they're connected with also, so each areas.
And for our newly elected members, the process is that we're looking at possibly a 6-month process. We're doing all our policies. And we have an external entity, the State School Board Association, that's providing guidance and has already a template of all the policies, and we're reviewing them and making changes and correlating them with the existing policies. It's a complete rewrite, and the organization is going to be completely different. We have gone through a number of the first level, which is the 100 levels in the current policies, which are board-related policies. And so we're about more than halfway done with that. You need 31 still?
Out of how many, just sorry.
So the goal is to be done by the time my term is up.
But there's a number of different things that we have to talk about later on in terms of can we approve. The current trend is that we're going to finish them all and then approve them all at the same time, and which is a little dysfunctional in terms of needing to get some in place quicker.
Point of information, I thought we changed that to do 100s and start doing the readings.
I don't think we took action on that, but yeah, that's what our suggestion is to do.
I don't think we had to take action.
Yeah,
I think
that's
we
true.
had scheduled it.
But we need to have that conversation with the contractor, and
I think
we
that,
predicted
I
that
think
to-
it's already, that conversation has already taken place, hasn't it?
I did. So what I'm asking today is that we do a sign-up sheet. I'll get one out to everybody and do public notices for Tuesdays and Thursdays. When we finish the hundreds, we'll approve that batch unofficially.
Okay. And I just wanted to open the conversation to our new members, inviting them that if you are cleared through the clerk of the board, the county clerk, you can participate in this fun adventure with us. Actually, this is the most critical part of it for us. So just look for an invitation.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want to get everybody, so I'll put together a sign-up sheet and we'll put public notices out there for maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays. Is that okay? Okay.
Could it be done like a calendar event? And we can respond yes, no, maybe if we can go. That way it syncs to my Google Calendar and it's on my
That's
phone.
more than two of us communicating together. Let me check.
To sign up? It's a meeting invite, and so if we want to go, we say yes.
As a meeting invite, that would be, and it would be publicly noticed, and an agenda, so.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, update on the Central Gym project.
So we're going to give you a report on that.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Spoletta. So we did, the district did approve the schematic design with Rob Price and his group. So they are now in the design development phase. That was approved on July 14th. They have 45 days to complete the design development. Felipe and I also met with Pam Weber. She's the engineer. We met with her at Central Elementary on July 18th. The only thing that we're researching, or she's continuing to research to move forward on that civil engineer portion of it, is we're looking at the capacity of the current fund to determine if there's enough capacity to take on or to be able to handle the overflow from the current building, or whether we need to make a separate fund over on the other side that would be able to handle that. So she's reviewing the current plans, and we're going to have Dr. Spoletta ask the DOT a couple of questions based on the work that they're going to do with the fund, and then Pam will be able to have the answers to her questions that they would want. So she's doing her work simultaneously while we're waiting for the design development.
Thank you. The pond. We just approved $36,000 for mitigating the runoff. Yeah, and we're expecting that it's going to cost a little bit more than that, maybe.
Yes.
And now we're looking at possibly building another pond.
Well, a smaller one, it would have to be a much bigger one, but what we're trying to find out, there's a couple of questions. I think one of the questions is, because right now the pond is tied to we get it plugged in so that it can drain. That's one of the questions that they have. I'll tell you what the other question is. Hold on.
That pond on the north side of the school? Is that where
That's where the building is gonna be, so I would assume so.
Far into the building.
So they're trying to find out if the pond will still have a pump to drain. If so, will it be automatically drained, or will the custodians need to turn it on and off manually, which is what is taking place right now? Or will the pond be reworked to have a gravity drain? And then if they have any plans, if the DOT has any plans on the pond project, she'd like to be able to review those so that she can see if it's gonna affect the detention of the pond design strategy. That's what's being looked at right now.
So the pond documentation that we have now for the revisions doesn't include that information?
So the plan designs that Felipe and I took over did not include that. There's a separate document for the ponds. It should be, Victor has brought all the documents there, just so you go in and see that document is there, because the original design that we took didn't have the pond capacity, and the designs for just the pond would have the pond capacity, and that's what we're trying to do.
When will we know what's gonna happen with that?
I just need to get the designs and take pictures of them and send them to her, and she's out this week, so I will be getting those to her so that when she returns, she'll have that information.
And the timeline again for the construction of the building?
So the design document is 45 days. I can't remember, I brought the timeline the last time. I can't remember what it is, but the goal right now was to start the actual building on, by October 1st. That's when we have all the designs and all the background work completed. And then the project to be completed by June 2020.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll move to public input.
On agenda items.
Sorry, public input on agenda items. It's good to have a safety, a safety net. Victor, do you have any? Okay, not having any, we'll go on to superintendent's report.
We'll start out, our union president is here, and there'll be a standing report under the superintendent's report.
The first thing the union would like to request is either a list of when staff meetings are going to be held, or do we provide you with meeting dates that we want to have so we can have them blocked out so the members are able to attend our meetings?
Can you say that one more time?
We would either like to have when your staff meetings are occurring for each of the school sites, or can we provide a date in each of the quarters to you that we can get blocked out so that we can have meetings that are uninterrupted? And then the other thing the union has to report right now is we have exchanged CDAs. We're in the process of going through negotiations. And then the third thing is as school starts, we will be working on getting that non-certified staff their representation going so that they know the process they need to do in order to represent themselves as far as their union is concerned.
So they're not going to be part of your union, they will be.
They are the Steelworkers Union. The Steelworkers Union represents non-certified staff, the NDA New Mexico represents certified staff.
So there's no discussion that the steelworkers are interested, or?
In order to go through the process of making it all one union, we would have to decertify a union and not allow the non-certified staff to have union coverage for a year. And I am uncomfortable doing that. that you can go ahead and figure out what the still the groups up and running.
How long has it been since they actually represented them?
They're still covered under the Steelworkers Union contract. That's still happening. They haven't negotiated a CBA since 2018.
Okay.
Which is kind of the same thing, the same boat that the NEA was in, kind of was installed with the state now that all that stuff's been lifted with COVID restrictions.
And so the state prohibitions run out when?
I don't know when the state prohibitions went out. I guess Cobre has been decent enough to honor the non-certified staff contract for all these years. It's just flipping over it, it's kind of dated and needs to be updated. So, because it was a pre-COVID contract, so there's new things that have happened to the staff that was affected by because of COVID and stuff. So.
And that contract, do you know if it's something that we continually sign or it just stays in place?
You're talking about the classified one?
Yes, yeah, both classified and unclassified, because both of them were pretty much in limbo.
Classified, we've exchanged proposals and we'll be going into the negotiating process. It's supposed to be looked at yearly. We're hoping that now that we're like communicating on a more regular basis, that will actually start to happen.
So both committees met and put together proposals and exchanged those, so we're doing good as far as updating everything.
And the union, the board will be involved in what stage is that?
Well, I guess that would be the final approval of the agreement.
Because once we get it, then we have to ratify it through group membership. So all the teachers need to get a chance to look at it too.
We still have some work to do, but we've spent at least a month now of back and forth.
Yeah.
I kind of verify if it is that we can play more of a participatory role as opposed to just a final approval.
I believe your final approval. That's your role.
I understand that being a role, but is it limited to that? Is what I'm wondering.
Well, they're welcome to request you guys come to the table meetings. You would be represented. You're on that side of the table, so they're welcome to request
that. Okay. Is there anything else?
That's it from the union for right now. We're just happy that we're ready to start the new school year. Ready to get back to work with these guys.
Very good. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
So a few more things that I'd like to talk about on my report. In your packet, there's a school fundraiser. The class of 2023 is selling T-shirts to raise money for graduation. I want to talk about staffing. I know we've talked about it in the last couple of meetings. All of our school positions are filled except a few educational assistant positions that have been vacated because of the fellows positions, where our human resources department is working on filling those positions. We just got the MOU last week, so we've acted quickly to make sure that those people that are interested in the fellow positions are offered those positions. So principals have been contacted, the fellows have been contacted. They were part of our new employee orientation today. So we're moving as quickly as possible. So we'll be filling some of those EA positions that were vacated for people that wanted to do the fellows program instead.
Will they be filling in as EAs or?
So you remember the fellows program. So some of the people that were EAs decided that they wanted to take on the fellows program as a role instead. So there's a few EA positions that will be available, and those will be posted.
Okay.
Also, we're anticipating some classes being too many kids in a few classes. We've already got enrollment numbers, so there will be some anticipated vacancies being posted. They haven't been posted already. I know they're going to be in the next day or so. So we've gotten some large numbers already for registration, which is a good thing. So we'll be posting anticipated positions as those kids have to come to school the first week of school, and they have to be here in order for us to hire more teachers, but it's looking good right now. Ms. Davis has done a great job filling positions, getting the word out there. And so at this point, we only have EA positions open for schools. So we're doing well, ready to start school with full classrooms, and we've got permanent substitutes and a lot of other substitutes in position ready to help as well.
And so how many did the state finally give us for the fellows?
So originally they told us, I think 15, they said 10, but they told us if we have additional ones that we can put them on board also. So I think right now we're at 10.
We have 4 additional right now. We have 15. So we're gonna have to ask for people.
So we'll have 18, and she's done a great job of promoting this as far as social media, just with all of our community.
Awesome. That's an exciting hope. I hope they continue. It's a 2-year program, correct?
It's a 2-year program.
So we started doing home visits today, some of our district staff and other staff members are doing home visits, talking with students and their families. We're going to continue that all week. Part of my entry plan, but just they volunteered to assist. Our some other staff members volunteered to assist too. So reuniting with parents a little bit and getting them motivated to bring their students to school starting on Monday. I attended the New Mexico Coalition of Educational Leaders Conference. The best thing that happened there, I think, was attending that to get a mentor. So as a new superintendent, I've been paired with a mentor. That's Dr. Arsenio Romero. He's the superintendent of Los Lunas Public Schools. And happens to be the husband of Ms. Romero of Fellows program that presented to us a few meetings ago also. I know we listened to Palms and Associates talk about the reunification plan. Last year, they also did several safety audits at Bayard Elementary, Snell, and Cobre High School. So we've asked them to come back and do that again. Some of those things, inspections including outside and inside of the buildings, classrooms, offices, kitchen inspections. A lot of the things that were on the fire marshal's report were also on those reports. Our maintenance staff and a lot of our people that have been helping us with different things have helped us fix a lot of those things, but I still think it's important that they come and do all of our schools. So they're going to come the second week of September and do an inspection of all of our schools. The contractors have worked hard to make sure that fire panels and things that were on that long list that I gave you previously are fixed. So I think we're going to be in a lot better shape. We're hoping to have everything fixed by the time school starts. But as you saw, that report was pretty long. Even while I was in Albuquerque at this conference, I did stop by the state fire marshal's office and spent several hours reviewing all of those fire code violations. And so our team, our maintenance team, and our different people that have been working with us here to fix those things are on top of most of them at this point. So I feel like we're going to be in a lot better shape with the fire marshal's office and with the Palms and Associates doing those inspections. But I'll give you those reports as soon as they come in September.
Did the Palms audit take into consideration the lack of surveillance cameras?
I don't remember that being on their list, but I'd be happy to share those 3 reports with you. I don't know if you've seen them before.
And could you mention to them what the significance of not having them is, where they should be in our priorities? So it is something to consider going forward.
I'd like to follow up with the safety audits, and I did have a community member reach out to question our safety plans for our schools, and I just would like if you could speak to that, what our district is doing to keep our kids safe.
Well, it's 3 pages down. Can I?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't see it on the agenda.
No, I added some things, and I apologize for not putting them on the agenda. Convocation is Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 11. followed by lunch. And so all board members are invited to attend. We'd like the board president to speak and introduce everybody else, if you would. So there's going to be a few special speakers. The governor was planning on attending until there was an incident that happened in northern New Mexico this past weekend with some sheriff's deputies. So she's not going to be able to attend, but we do have some other speakers. Schools are going to have chants. It's going to be a pep rally. So the band's going to be there, cheerleaders will be there. Our mascot will be there. Each school will be wearing school t-shirts. Staff members are going to receive a gift at the end of the convocation. There'll be a photo booth for teachers afterwards to take pictures with other teachers. And then our bank has donated lunch for all of the staff members across the district. So normally our cafeteria fixes food, but we wanted them to be involved in this also. So all of our staff members across the district will be part of it. So just wanted to remind everyone the theme for the year is expect the best and get it. So you should hear that a lot this year. So today was the new employee orientation. So we did a lot of introductions, payroll and benefits, technology, computer programs, job expectations. All of the fellow candidates were there. I believe the substitute candidates were there too, weren't they?
We have they come to the substitute training.
Oh, okay. So, and Ms. Barella did a great job working with all of the teachers and the EAs, her and her instructional staff spent about 2 hours working with all of those new employees that are going to be working with teaching and learning. So there was 44 people there today. It was packed. So again, human resources and all of the district staff participated in that, as well as the building principals. Another event, Saturday is Summerfest. So our back to school event is going to be Saturday from 9 to 2 at the Cobre High School parking lot. Right now there's 47 booths. I'm not sure how they're even going to fit them in the parking lot. They were out there today working on that. But there's a lot of vendors. All of the schools will have a tent and tables. There'll be games, free backpacks, school supplies, t-shirts. I think right now there's 60 something volunteers that are going to help set it up, clean up. All law enforcement will be there. There'll be a bounce house, dunk tank, climbing wall, a lot of fun things. So I think it's going to be a great start to the school year, getting families and kids back into school and involved in our schools. And Annette Acosta is the committee chairperson, and she's done a great job of getting community support partnerships. And I wanted to invite the board Thursday morning at 8 a.m. There's a ceremony for infrastructure in Hurley at the motel there in Hurley on 180. Yes, so the lieutenant governor called me today and said that the governor would be there and she would like all of the board members to come if you'd like to participate.
What's that?
8 o'clock on Thursday morning.
And it's infrastructure?
Infrastructure.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Victor, can you tell us more about the infrastructure ceremony?
The infrastructure ceremony is basically going to go over the road project. I believe one time when I had a little bit more info on that, but I was reading it out on my own, so I didn't know what was
Okay. Well, anyways, the lieutenant governor said he was going to send me the information today, and I didn't get it before the meeting started tonight.
I got the text he sent me. It's just the expansion of the Portland Highway from Marker 127 all the way to the county line.
Oh, okay.
To the Deming side of that, where it goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
So just to the county line and then?
No, it's going to go all the way.
And also, they will also be out at Bear Dam Lake at 10 o'clock doing another infrastructure in this valley.
You did mention that also, yes.
And what does that involve?
That's, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Bear Dam Lake has been leaking for a long time. And I'm going to be doing dam work to stop that.
So I do want to let you know, all of our district cabinet met for 2 days last week at an offsite location, kind of a retreat. We built a charter, we reviewed a lot of data, discussed our vision, mission, and roles and expectations. I want to recognize them also because they've been working hard to fill in for the vacant operations position. So they've all picked up duties and done a great job. So that position we're also starting to interview for as well too. But I think we've had seven applicants initially. But they've all done a great job of picking up those positions among their other duties. And all right, and so the principals also met for 2 days last week for same type of an event, almost a retreat, to build a charter, to talk about data, norms, their vision for the year, and expectations. And all of our district staff met with them, and I thought it was a great 2 days for the principals as well. So I think we're going to be ready to go for the school year with good expectations, clear roles, and good communication. The district staff, we're here to support. We want to support all the buildings and make sure they're off to a good start. All right, now to the safety committee and safety plans. Ms. Davis is going to talk briefly about this.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Spaletta, we do have a safety committee here at Cobre, and they've been working really hard on looking at different things that we need to improve concerns to the district, along with the reunification of funds, and also with funds coming into our schools and reviewing things that need to be updated. But some of the things that team met and discussed were things that we still need to kind of work on. Some of the things is securing the schools a little better, getting locks on all the gates, but also getting access, a key to all the teachers, because if something were to happen, they need to be able to open the gates. So those are some of the things that were discussed and that the principals gave us also some feedback on. We did talk about the mock drill that we need to put in place for the 23rd. It's still a work in progress because we have to work with quite a few different members, not just with Silver Schools, but our police department and other entities that will be part of that. The kit that we are putting together that Mr. Bash, okay. He presented that kit. We have an organizational chart that we're working on, and we're actually meeting as a committee tomorrow to kind of discuss that and seeing what the rules are going to be for Cobre, because that will be part of that kit too. We are also looking at, we have the 7 computers ready to go, but some of the things that we talked about is maybe some portable switches and maybe pay for the computers, some extension ports, some surge protectors, and thinking about how to load the copy machine to take it with us, because we need to make copies. The other thing is that we were thinking this year is trying to make sure that all our staff attend one of the times that the schools have photos done at the schools. So every employee will have a badge for now. So that includes our district admin office, our cafeteria workers, and our maintenance office, that we never go to the schools. They don't come and do pictures for us, much fun to go get kids' pictures, not ours. But we're asking that everybody attend one of them, and the principals are giving me their dates so I can send it out to everybody, so that way we can get that. But not only stopping at that, we're looking at maybe getting our own badge printer, because we do have people that come in or people that leave that we might have to make a badge for. And we want to make sure that everybody has a badge this year in our schools as part of safety.
The other thing that came up is that Snell is the only school that doesn't have the secure lock doors. All our other schools have either the buzzing or they come in and they can't get in past that secretary part. And so we really need to look at Snell and seeing what we can do to get that school a little more secure and safe at the front, because people can just walk right through and get on back, especially if the secretary steps out and there's nobody there. So that's one of our schools that we're really thinking of that we need to get more secure. And see how we can get that accomplished. One of the things that we asked the principals to do too is we asked them to give us a copy of their maps. They have maps in their schools. We asked them to update their safety committee within their schools to give us a copy of that. That way, here at the admin office, we have copies in case something happens at their school. We have that information here because only the schools have them. We want to have them here too. We want that updated. And having to say that we need that update, it's our year to update again our safety plans. We just got the information from the State Department that we have to update them and have them completed and updated by December. And so we'll be sending that information out to all our principals so they can start updating according to their template that they gave us and ensuring that we have updated plans for each school. Also, we talked to the principals that it comes straight from the State Department. They have to have emergency drills, conduct them in their schools, and every week for the first 4 weeks. And then after that, excuse me, they have to have one, at least one shelter in place. They have to have, in preparation to respond to an active shooter, they have to have one evacuation drill and 2 fire drills. And they do have to submit those to us. Victor went ahead and he's developing a shared Google Drive to where they submit those drills so we can make sure that the schools are meeting the criteria from the State Department that they are doing the drills that they need to with their students and staff. And the other thing that we also ask the schools is during their staff orientation is to make sure that, I know when new people coming in or changes that come in, is to create a safety folder for them. So they know where the exits are, they know where, if they do have to evacuate the school, where's that location, to make sure that the whole school has the fire drill signs that show where the exits are and where each group of kids need to go and where they go outside. So we're asking them to make sure they have that, and not only for that, but also when the stuff comes in, they also know those drills, because sometimes they come in and there's a fire drill and they have no idea what to do. So we're hoping that the schools have those things in place right now. And like I said, we're going to be meeting tomorrow and have further discussion on some of the things that we've already kind of outlined and see what else we need to continue doing. Thank you.
Any questions?
I do want to add to that Ms. Burrell and I have been working with the fire alarm. Many of our fire alarms had problems. There's still a few that haven't been fixed yet, but I think we've probably spent over the last month a lot of time fixing the fire alarm systems, the panels, the sensors in all of our buildings. And that was part of our fire code violations. So we're hoping by the second week in September, there's a part for one of the schools that still needs to be ordered, but most of them should be up and running before school starts next week. Other than that one, it's not complete yet.
So there's a lot of companies have to do preventative maintenance to do that with the alarms.
Well,
they'll set them for years and years and they never deactivate.
So there's things that we haven't been doing. I presented to the board about a 100-page document from the state fire marshal, as well as Palms and Associates. So our maintenance team is doing a few things differently. They've been fixing things that need to be fixed. We've had several contractors. Ms. Burrell and I have worked with several contractors to get our systems in place. So we're just about 100% fixed on everything.
I'd like to mention that we do have preventative maintenance program documented. It was one of the meetings that I actually didn't attend, and that was approved. An accident that I needed to attend to, and it was approved, and it contains two procedures on maintenance. One relates to hinges on doors, and the other one, I believe, related to refrigeration units. Other than that, there was no PM guidelines that were presented in that document. It should be, take a look at it, and it should be thrown out and started again.
Well, we intend to make sure we're looking ahead on things in the future.
Okay.
It's taken a long time to get a lot of things, so six weeks for the.
But as we go through and identify the things that need to be doing, incorporating that into that document would be helpful for sustaining that preventative maintenance. I had a question though. Who was on the committee?
I took over this one, so I have to look. We have Tina Montoya, Victor Hernandez, Daniel, and we only have Mr. Corey, Michael Corey out of San Lorenzo, Aneta Costa, myself, and Joyce was part of it. I don't know if we're keeping her because I know she's got other duties too, but she was part of it. She had it kind of giving out the information, and then we got so
Were any of the police departments or sheriff's office involved in it?
this right here is just our school site, and then we do have, so we can meet and discuss what we're still meeting, but then with, having all, all the reunification team, there's all, there's different entities that are involved with that. So we do have everybody involved.
But the component about addressing an issue at the school is really what I'm asking about, having their participation on, for instance, having proximity of police units, always in mind when school's in session, having a direction where a hierarchy is established on control and accountability in terms of who's, like what happened in Uvalde where nobody knew, or supposedly nobody knew who was in charge, but having those
And
kinds
that's
of
part of the reunification, of having everybody involved because we don't have enough police power here. So we have to have a whole group of people that have to come and help. So that's part of having that plan in place of who's gonna have that hierarchy, who's gonna be in charge, who's gonna do all of that. And that's, again, in conjunction with Silver Schools, our schools, the county cops, the city cops, the cops that we have in each one of our communities. We don't have that power. Yeah. And then I know 3 years ago when our plans were due for pre-COVID, we did do on-site meetings with the fire chief and police chief of each municipality. And we had some collaboration, local discussions as part of our safety plans for that. It was a requirement of our safety plan. So,
Yeah.
safety plan. So there is communication.
And the reunification is more of the evacuation element of it, not the actually attending to what the crisis is. And that's where I was wondering if this was going to take up more of that
I mean,
portion.
like from assistant, it'll be fun part of the, we have to redo our plans. So I'm sure, I mean, we just got that information, so it'll probably be part of that process. And it is required as well for this first month. Some of the things that have to happen, they have to happen in conjunction with the local fire and police departments.
Yeah, and that needs to be revisited because of the staff changes that have happened at Bayard and Hurley. I think some laws have been quite a bit, but there's a new staff on Bayard and Hurley for sure.
And it's part of that whole process that they have to follow with the state guidelines.
And the sheriff involvement, especially in San Lorenzo.
So next on my list, I know my list is kind of long tonight, I apologize.
Okay.
New Mexico Public Education Department released the latest COVID response kit. And so Ms. Varela is going to give you an overview of that.
Thank you. Mr. Spalletta, board president, members of the board. So the latest update was released on July 20th. There aren't a lot of updates to it, but the updates that were done are really important updates. They did define vaccines as being a person is considered up to date when the individual has received all approved doses
for COVID-19 vaccine, including boosters, when they're eligible to receive them. We have been reporting weekly for the last year and a half. So our weekly reports are going to change. We're no longer required to report staff will be surveillance testing. We have been reporting that for over a year. We are still required to report infections and testing numbers on a weekly basis. Social distancing now is recommended, not required. So in talking with Dr. Spoletta, we're going to go with the state recommendation, which is, again, social distancing recommended, not required. Test to stay is now at the discretion of the individual districts, because our district did order a significant number of at-home tests. We ordered over 7,000 for our district. We have enough tests to implement test to stay at least through the fall semester. So we're going to continue to do that. We will not have PMG here doing the COVID testing for us. The state was paying for that. That is now in the individual districts. But based on the number of tests that we have in our district, we feel really comfortable that we're able to accommodate everybody for the test to stay. Parents are able to use over-the-counter tests as long as they signed an assurance form. So we do have those assurance forms at all buildings, and districts will have home kits that can be picked up from each of the individual schools. The other big difference is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act is no longer available. So staff who are required to quarantine will be using their sick leave as opposed to it being covered through other funding sources. So those are the current changes. We did check with some of the local school districts. So we checked with Deming, we checked with Hatch, we checked with Silver. We're all on the same page as far as what they're recommending.
Any difference on masks?
Masks are not required, masks are optional. But if somebody does contact COVID-19 and they have to quarantine for the 5 days, then when they come back to work after the 5 days of school, they are required to wear masks for an additional 5 days.
Are they specific to what type of mask? Or is it like, for instance, like KN95?
No, it's not specific to China now.
The other question was, the distancing, is that 3 or 6 feet?
It's 3 feet for students, 2 students, 6 feet for adults. That's the same as last year, didn't change.
So I want to give you an update on some operations projects. The preschool roof had some serious problems, so contractors have been working on the roof. As of last Friday, it was 99% complete. There's going to be a final inspection on August 3rd. I mentioned the boardroom in the same building. It looks like we're just waiting on the carpet right now, and the HVAC system should be, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the HVAC system should be installed, but we're just waiting on the carpet. Our maintenance team is going to be painting the room. They've done some patchwork already, so it should be ready in the next month. I'm hoping for board meetings. Same thing in the server room. We're just waiting on the HVAC system to be put in so that our servers remain cool all the time. And then the room right next to the boardroom, they had the large ceiling in the roof. We spoke with the contractor today. And the drywall guys, it looks like it's about 3 weeks before they can fix the ceiling, and the project there should be completed in 5 weeks. He gave us an estimate of 5 weeks.
And that room's used for a conference room, or?
It was used previously for a training room. This room right here is pretty active during the day, so a lot of meetings and any kind of training sessions. It's a larger room. Could be used for a lot of different things. The sped room on the other side, same ceiling folks are going to be working on that. Drywall should be happening in about 3 weeks, and then the carpet there also. So those are the 2 things we're waiting on that. We've used some large bins to get rid of trash at both this building, the maintenance office, and the high school. Probably 10 large bins total have been thrown away of junk. And then we mentioned this to the principals, and all of them mentioned all of the junk they have in their buildings. I wanted to get school started first, but they all have a lot of things that are need to be disposed of too. So hopefully we can bring those bins maybe September or October to the different schools and allow them to throw away junk as well. We've got it piled up. It hasn't been used in years. Also made contact with the vice president of the university about some work study students to help us do some filing and organizing. Got a lot of files and things that need to be organized. And so I'm going to work with them to see if we can get some work study students that could help us. While I was in Las Cruces in the Human Resources Department, that's something we used in our department to help us just do some tedious work of filing and organizing files. We have a lot of files that need organizing. And it didn't cost us a lot to do that. I know we've talked about the building directly behind the district, behind all of the buses back there. I met with some representatives, the vice president of Lady of Fatima Church, and they are interested in using one of our buildings, either that particular one again or one of the two on the corner. I told them that I would talk to the board. They just want to use it a couple hours a week for some classes in the afternoon. So I don't have any other details. I asked them to put something in writing, but I also let them know that I would let you know about it.
We talked about the roof of the buildings. Was that paid for by the church?
She didn't know that. The person that had been in charge is no longer in charge, I guess. So she said there were some problems also with electricity, that it no longer has electricity. I haven't been in the building.
So would fire marshal have to take a look at that before you allow it to be occupied?
Probably so. Probably so. I think all three of the buildings need some maintenance work. We've been cleaning the outsides, but we haven't had a chance to do anything inside. And Terry's going to probably update us on this, but we're hoping to do an auction of all those vehicles here in the near future. Do you have a date yet for us?
Not yet. I talked to the bus operator, and he's getting back to me with the minimum bids that we can ask for the buses. We are going to make contact with the individual for the vehicles to make sure that we have a combined, not just one person assessing the value of the vehicles. And so as soon as we get that and the bus appraiser gets back to me, we can set a date for that. And then after that, we can figure out the furniture that we have in the back.
Hopefully the vehicles will be in the next few weeks.
And in that, are we using the criteria? I remember there was a 1 and a 2 inspired the statutes to which it was applicable, and one of them required having 3 people on the committee and to oversee the valuations and
right. So what Dr. Scoletta and I talked about is bringing it to the finance committee, and since they're a committee already, we could use the minimum values for the vehicles. The bus appraiser was actually recommended by Tina Montoya, which is the bus contractor. So that's what pretty much the source for assessing the value of the buses. But the cars wouldn't come up on the Kelly Blue Book because they're government vehicles. So they would come up as something that you just sell outright.
So that's all I have for my superintendent's report. Sure. I'll try not to make it as long next time. That is a lot of now.
Some doctors told us another project that's starting this week, the gym floors, they're doing the on-site on Wednesday. They'll start at the high school and at the
So staff flooring is resurfacing both of our gym floors at the high school and the middle school.
The high school gym floor is pretty new.
Well, it's normally something that you do every year, and I'm not sure how often we've done ours, but they're actually, they strip it off and put, it's something normally you do every year.
I think the last time we did it was 19.
As a former basketball coach, it's something I did every year. I did it myself a lot of times. So you want to have a floor that it's not slick, and so it's something you normally want to do every year.
It's a relatively new floor. That was one of the projects done under the bond issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, phase
Yeah.
one, the 2017.
They're not sanding it all the way down. They're taking some of it off and just stripping it basically.
That's good. That's a worry that it's gonna go through the 10-year plan or whatever the case is for,
Oh, no.
sanding down. That was the problem with the other one. It was getting too thin. Already.
I don't know, the middle school might be doing that to change the logo, because I think we have the wrong logo on that one.
Right, so we'll be doing that.
But it's normally something you do every year.
Okay. Done with the report? Yes. And from my perspective, this is an exciting time for Cobre, and I thank you very much for the public participation, the excitement that's going around, the teacher participation, the management participation. It is moving in a direction that is very encouraging, and I'm grateful you're here to carry that forward. You're doing an excellent job, and
Thank you. And all these directors should be thanked as well. They're all working hard.
everybody's picking up, and this is exciting to see. It's very exciting to see, and it's a good direction. Okay, if there's public input on any topic, not just.
I do want to go back to the board training, since we did pick 2 new board members. I have talked to the State School Board Association, and so they are available as soon as you like them to do the board training in November for all of us. If that's something you guys are interested in.
They'll do it here?
They'll do it either in person or virtually.
Like a board retreat or board training?
Board training, new member board training.
You know about how many hours, what topics, that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I remember I mentioned one before about evaluation, just the role of the board, but that they can do just the basic board training 1 hour or as many as we need to.
Can you put together a list of what trainings it is that's available, and we could identify the ones that we could probably use first?
Well, I think next on the list, I've already discussed this, but Palms and Associates, Ken is going to do the audit in the second week of September, similar to what they did last year.
Okay. You're supposed to do it?
Yes, well, it's all kind of off in some ways. I happened to visit Highland Elementary School the other day. I don't know what they were doing. I was so impressed with the spirit, but it appeared to be volunteers. So since you're from Cruces, there were so many people outside in their yellow vests to help everyone get their child up through the gate. Now, you weren't allowed in, okay? But it appeared that they were volunteers. They were not teachers, because the teachers were lined up like in the back of the school for intermediate and on the side for the grade levels. So they have a tremendous group of people that are handling traffic and students. And that was Highland.
I know the principal very well at Highland, and I check with her and see what's going on. I know she does have volunteers, because that's something that I
It was
oversaw last year.
impressive. As a principal myself, former principal, I was so impressed. The security that was out there that day, the first day of school. The other thing that I'm impressed with over there, that I'm not sure Cobre's ever done, is the city pays for the after-school programs. And they're for all days after school. and they happen to go 5 days. So for 5 days, from I don't know what time the school is, 3:30 to 5:30, the students are in after-school programs that the city is paying. And I even visited that the other day. So, and I was impressed with the people that are working there. And their qualifications and what they were doing. So I'm wondering if Cobre has ever attempted to ask the city if they were willing to pay. You might say it's a babysitting service, but it's more than that. They do the homework with the kids. They're doing computers with the kids. They're doing activities with the kids. And I felt very fortunate to have my granddaughter be able to be enrolled in that school. And what I saw, just one day, and well, 2 days actually.
Along those lines, as Greenville, Head Start, Ms. Putmeyer has been advocating after schools, before and after school care for at the schools, and has been working with the county, so that might be another source.
I just met with Misty the other day, but have an active involvement when the city pays for it. I mean, each city has a buy-in. Santa Clara, Bayard,
and Cobre has the challenge of Friday, the entire day.
Yes.
So
what I saw there, I was really impressed.
Thank you.
Well, and this discussion came because we were talking about some of the issues that we noticed at school, the kids walking home from school. At Snell, at some of the elementary, sometimes it's like chickens everywhere. And so she was mentioning that. And I know Denny Public Schools also, their city pays for their after-school programs and their morning school programs.
So it's not teachers, and it is not teachers. It is who the city hires, but they have to meet certain criteria.
So for the after-school program at Denny, we do have teachers, they'll give them a stipend, like $1,000 a semester, whatever to do from after school for an hour. And then that whatever program, and they allow the teachers for sometimes to choose what they want to do. And then they budget them, say you wanted to do science fair after school, and then the city would budget the supplies for that teacher to do that program. And so it was really successful. And then in the morning, sometimes a little bit more earlier, because sometimes teachers, your contract doesn't start till a certain time. And so they would have, even not just teachers, but they had parents who could pass a background check through the state to come in earlier and stay just half an hour and allow the kids whatever breakfast, and then when the teachers came, they left.
And the other thing is you can't get in those schools. You have to call. Stand at the phone number is posted on the door. You want to go get your child or you want to talk to anybody, you have to phone in. Somebody comes out, find out what you want. Otherwise, the doors are totally locked.
It could be a temporary solution for Snell. Keep that door locked and they have to call.
And I didn't happen to know this when I had the after school program. You can't even get into that. And finally I thought, I've been out here for 20 minutes. She's not out. So I went up there and there's the sign. I just hadn't gone to the door and said, call this number if you're here to see anybody. So
Thank you for that information.
very good information. I've been very interested in making sure that we have a place for kids to stay that's safe.
well, he knows the principles, so that would, I mean, yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. So again, no other input on this?
No, sir. I would like to ask a question regarding the fellows program. And does it include like your extra, like music teachers, art teachers, PE teachers, home ec teachers, all those kind of auxiliary teachers who there's always a shortage of? Are they allowed to apply for fellows programs if they're?
I'll let Ms. Davis answer that, but it's a little bit different than just a normal PA.
It's not reading the assurances and going through all of that. It's any educator that is, they actually open it up, any educator that's either starting their program, that's going into education and getting the teaching degree. So they would fall under that. Anybody that's in the middle of the program or anybody that's almost finishing the program. So they either want to get them started or kind of almost finished or finished. Because it used to be that you had to be already
so many years in and have just about 2 years to be done, but they've opened it up to that. And it doesn't specify that it can't be an art teacher, but it just says it understands.
Just somebody in an education program. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could I ask my 2 questions now? Would that be an appropriate time?
Sure, yes.
Okay, just the board, I want to see if you guys have any board goals going forward, or if you've set goals.
We have goals to come up with goals. We do not have a strategic plan. And the direction has been that we're going to follow Dr. Spiletta's entry plan until we get enough information that we can develop a cohesive strategic plan with participation from staff, community, as well as the board. So that's going forward. The other kind of efforts we have in terms of reorganizing the house are the policy. One of them is strictly the policy. Then there's the facilities plan that's in the process and should be in its final stages here pretty relatively soon.
End of August or early September.
And there's also going to be some discussion on how it is we're going to use an ongoing funding, which is the technology bond that was recently approved, which is a continuation of the rate of the general obligation bond. And so we're going to identify things that we're going to do with that, partially from what we get the information from the facilities plan, as well as what we get from safety plan, and as well as we get from even the COVID issues in terms of what we need for technology. But that's based along those lines. And those are the only ones I can think of right now, if anybody wants to add.
Well, as a board, our goals, we did the board retreat, which we set up norms, and we were looking forward to having more board retreats to make more goals as a board for us. But we're gonna have to start from scratch with that. So I'm looking forward to that.
The strategic plan is we've got a calendar to start in November. Once my entry plan is done, to start with the strategic plan. I think it's November 11th or 13th.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question was the meeting time. Is it the second Monday of every month, or it's
2 meetings? It's a second and fourth, yes.
Okay.
And it's 5 o'clock. And that's not in line with our policy. So our policy is being rewritten in terms of that sense. So that's something that the board can discuss in terms of wanting to see if that's one that accommodates people that are working. And the addition of having things on the internet makes it a little bit more flexible for us, so people can participate on their cooking dinner and everything else. And so we may have some discussion as to whether 5 o'clock is a preferred time or not.
okay? Thank you.
We have this as the second meeting of the month. They start next month at going to alternating campuses. Okay. And I did talk to the principals about that, so they were okay with that.
Any other questions? Board members have anything? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Number 9.
Oops, number 9. Items for next, I'm sorry. Items for next meeting. Let's see. You want to start?
I don't have anything.
You don't have anything? Well,
Not that I can think of right now.
I think we can give you an update on projects again, operations projects.
I'd like to discuss our contractor for legal services.
I haven't gotten back to you on that. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Well, I do have something. We had briefly talked about conducting a forensic audit on one of the findings, and maybe just getting an update on that.
Actually, 2 forensic audits. One was related to the findings of the audit. The other one was related to the general bond, the bond issue. the,
Well, isn't that what one of the findings was the bond?
yeah, but we were also gonna look at, there was, I have to go over the audits in terms of which one it is we're gonna do there, but, so we can take a look at the possibility of forensic audits, in areas of question. And one of those, I think, also should be the pay to the superintendent, the payout to the superintendent.
So I have forwarded documents to her recently, that we've reviewed. She's reviewing that as well, his contracts.
Is this the same lawyer that created the contract?
That's one of the reasons I
And
want
I'm not sure how long she's been in that district, but if you'd like me to stop that.
I'm just curious.
I think it'll fall in concert with reviewing the status, whether we continue with the contract with the current legal attorney.
So with forensic audit, would you like me to find somebody that can do that? Our new auditor does do that.
Would that be a conflict of interest if they're doing the audit at the time?
No.
But this is a past audit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's true. But
And I guess finding out if this needs board approval or if it's some,
well, it would need board approval in terms of payment for it. Because it'd be
I
a
think
service.
there's a has to be over $60,000 for it to need board approval.
When we have consultation services for services that we cannot provide, it's to be presented to the board in terms of the identification of who would conduct those services, their ability to conduct it, and the presentation of a timeline that proposal will cover and an estimated cost. It has to be presented to the board. I think that's 192.
I can do some research on forensic audit also.
Thank you.
Legal services also bring you back some different attorney information. Again, find out information on board training.
Policy review as well, always schedule times and.
I'll bring that sign up or I'll contact you before the next meeting to sign up for those.
Just wanted to see, would it be possible to hold a workshop with the board members on the continuance of how we're gonna do the meeting moving forward? Because we tried to do that a couple months ago and no members showed up. So we want to see if we have a workshop so we can see how we're gonna continue moving forward. Just some stuff we never really sat down to discuss it.
I think we've already done the policy related to conducting the board meetings, specifically the agenda. But it's maybe something we should bring back to the table considering a new board, and it would be a good time to have that discussion. And that way we would frame the agenda so that it would reflect what it is we want done in the meetings. And how. So I mean, when you look at scheduling the meetings, you can bring back the one that has to do with conducting board meetings. I should be looking back to you for that. Okay. Thank you, Jen.
So put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Just to include it with, because it'll be done kind of as a workshop.
Yes.
So it would be appropriate to do that. It'd be appropriate to do that during that type of meeting.
And discuss the only close to workshops.
Yeah, and as it affects a policy, that would be taken back for the board to review. No action would be taken. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Done. Thank you very much for participating, and congratulations to those that are. We're very grateful. We're very, very grateful. Thank you.
You can sign the minutes.
Okay. We will get a nice